I feel like Gaijin was listening when I called the Bradats a weird looking vehicle, because this thing is absolutely beautiful. Good afternoon, you wee bastards, and welcome back to What I Know with Koala, and today we get to talk about a jet that I've wanted to see for a long time. The F-86K Sabre dog. Lads, this jet right here, this is how I thought Gaijin would want to do tier 6 to start off with. Just a little more capable than our old school top tier 9.0 jets, but still not quite Super Sabre or MiG-19 levels of performance. So this is the first aircraft we've had announced for this upcoming patch, 1.89. It is an export variant of the Sabre dog for the French Air Force, and if I can say one thing, please give something comparable to America. We don't want another F-84G, AD-4, Tu-4 or CL-13 situation. So the Sabre dog was originally developed by North American Aviation as the F-95. It was renamed F-86D basically in order to sound like a Sabre, thus garnering more support for the project. The Sabre was an absolutely revolutionary design, but the Sabre dogs, the F-86D, K and L, actually share very little with the F-86 Sabre itself. The aircraft began development as the YF-95 in March 1949 and first flew later that year. The F-86D, originally named F-95A, was the first production variant and the main variant used by the US Air Force, and Japan funnily enough. It was powered by the General Electric J47 axial flow turbojet engine that had powered aircraft like the F-86 Sabre, B-36 Peacemaker, B-45 Tornado, and many others. However, this particular engine used in the Sabre dog was equipped with an afterburner, raising its power output to 7,500 pounds of thrust. This could get the Sabre dog to well over 1100 km per hour, with the aircraft setting a speed record in 1953 of just over 1150. While the F-86D variant of the Sabre dog was equipped with only rocket armament and became the first aircraft in US Air Force service to ever use such an armament, the F-86K was in later development designed for export and was equipped with a familiar armament of 4 20mm cannons with 132 rounds per gun. This variant of the Sabre dog also features a more powerful variant of the J47 engine, which increases dry thrust, meaning that without the afterburner engaged, the K variant of the Sabre dog would be faster than the original F-86Ds, although it is worth noting that later models of the F-86D did mount this same engine as well. The Sabre dogs also feature radar mounted in the nose cone above the air intake, and our F-86K will additionally get access to AIM-9B Sidewinder heat-seeking air-to-air missiles. This is, in effect, France's answer to Italy's Fiat G91YS, which is actually a very similarly performing jet looking at raw statistics. That's actually, I believe, the main reason France is receiving this jet rather than Italy, because Italy basically already has an identically performing jet, it just tops out a bit sooner. A subsonic or transonic afterburning jet that still follows, I guess, the old school jet formula. What I mean by that is, it's more similar to a Sabre than to a Super Sabre in its actual use, as well as its development. I'm sure you'll have to get what I mean. When you fly this thing out, fly it more like a Sabre than a Super Sabre, because that's what it is, even with its afterburner and sidewinders. Now, the F-86K was originally designed for use by Italy, so I can certainly see Italy receiving this jet in the future, even though it does perform similarly to the G91YS they already have. It would make a lot of sense for the F-84G to lead into this aircraft, and then to lead on to the F-104 Starfighter. The same would also be true for Germany, with the G91R3 slotting in there too. That has been confirmed to be coming, possibly at BR 9.0 between the CL-13A and B, then followed by the F-86K, and then the F-104G. Many nations used these jets because when America began implementing the superior F-100 Super Sabre and FJ-4 Fury, they sold off a lot of their older, now obsolete jet fighters. This certainly isn't something new, but to add to the pot, Britain could also receive the Avon Sabre, which was manufactured all the way into the early 60s, and was very comparable to the CL-13B in performance. Certainly a step up from both the Hunter F1 and... the Javelin. By the way, I love how Gaijin themselves have stated that the requirements for a jet to be tier 6 is that it has to either be capable of supersonic speeds, have an afterburning engine, or be armed with air-to-air missiles, and yet the F-86 F2, MiG-17, Hunter F1 and CL-13A, none of which fulfill any of these characteristics and all sit at 9.0, are tier 6, yet the F-86 F40 in the Japanese tech tree, which is equipped with air-to-air missiles and sits at BR 9.3, is tier 5. Consistency, Gaijin? Please? I really wouldn't care if Japan's premium jet was the only Tier 6 premium jet, although by those rules, the G91R4 should be Tier 6 as well, so should the Israeli Voltor in the French tech tree, and the F-35 Sabre could get AIM-9Bs and move up to Tier 6 too. Now, what I'm sure a lot of people are asking is, what about the F-86D itself? Will that come for America, and Japan too? While Japan never used the F-86K, they did manufacture some F-86Ds, I believe the F-86D-45, which did mount the same engines as the K variant. The thing is though, as I mentioned earlier, the F-86D mounted no offensive guns, relying on a folding fin aerial rocket tray as its primary role was to be used against bomber aircraft. It was also later fitted with AIM-9B sidewinders, but only the K variant actually used offensive guns, and lo and behold, America herself never actually used this particular variant, as by the time it was produced, the F-100 Super Sabre was already flying and would be introduced to the US Air Force a year later. I personally don't believe that we'll ever get fighters in War Thunder with no offensive guns. We don't have a place for them in this game. When we get an F-4 Phantom, and I'm sure we will within the next 12 months, it'll be the F-4E variant rather than the earlier models that carried no offensive guns, and it's for this very reason that I doubt we'll ever see the F-101 Voodoo or F-102 Delta Dagger. These examples, along with the F-86D, F-89D Scorpion, and several other Century Series fighters where the main production variant lacked offensive guns, were designed for the purpose of downing Soviet bomber aircraft like the Tu-16 Badger and Il-28 Beagle. Either that, or they were fighter bombers or recon fighters, and a far cry from the dogfighters that we need for War Thunder. As for aircraft that America could get to answer this, there are several. The obvious option is the F-86H Sabre, which was a traditional Sabre rather than a Sabre dog, but was equipped with the much more powerful General Electric J73 afterburning engine, making 12,500 pounds of thrust. The McDonnell F-3H Demon is another option for a more unique aircraft rather than quote-unquote just another Sabre. A naval fighter and successor to the F-2H Banshee, which flew at around the same speed as the Sabre Dog and was equipped with AIM-9s. It also could carry the AIM-7 Sparrow semi-active radar-guided air-to-air missiles. This aircraft would go on to be the basis for development of the epic F-4 Phantom II, and I definitely think it should come. The third option I see is the F-4D Skyray, an interesting looking aircraft similar to the Javelin with its delta wings. This one travelled slightly faster than the others at 1160 kph, but if its manoeuvrability is anything like the Javelin's, well, it's not exactly going to stomp over an aircraft like the Sabre Dog. This fighter was however capable of Mach 1 in a straight line at high altitude and has a very high service ceiling of 55,000 feet. Higher even than that of the F-100 Super Sabre or Mitsubishi T2. Like the F-3H Demon, it was a naval fighter equipped with 4 20mm cannons and 4 AIM-9 sidewinders, although I don't believe this one could use Sparrows. For other nations, well, Italy and Germany, as I mentioned, are likely going to receive the F-86K in the future. Russia could see the MiG-17F with an afterburning engine, and Britain. I already mentioned the Avon Sabre, but Britain could also receive the Hawker Hunter F6, Supermarine Swift F2, or the Naval Supermarine Scimitar F1, which would basically be the best performer out of all the options I've given here. Think of the Scimitar as being to the Seahawk what the F-3H Demon is to the F-2H Banshee. Actually, that's a pretty convenient, perfect comparison. I'm surprised that France isn't receiving a domestically designed jet like the Mystère 4 or Utendard 4, goodbye all my French viewers thanks to that pronunciation, but Gadget does say that French players should hold on to your butts, because there is something else coming for you. My bets are on the Series 1 Leclerc, it's high time we saw that in game, but there's every chance they could mean either of those two jets, or the Super Utendard, one of the most beautiful jet designs of the early Cold War period in my opinion, and potentially a step above the Super Mystère B2 we see in game currently. Of course, Gaijin could blindside us completely and introduce the French Navy alongside the Japanese, but I doubt it. You may notice that I haven't mentioned the jets that I've been a wee bit hyped up for recently, things like the F-104, MiG-21F and Bach Lightning. I did mention the F-104 a couple of times, but you get what I mean. Well, that's because those jets are an extension of Tier 6, while these jets, specifically the Sabre Dog, more bridge the gap between our old school Tier 5s and the brand spanking new supersonics we've been receiving in recent patches. This is how I thought Gaijin would start off Tier 6. These jets are incremental improvements on the ones we saw top the game at 9.0 for years, like the F-86K Sabre, rather than being something wholly new like the Super Sabre is. I'm very glad Gaijin is adding these types of jets to fill that gap, and their implementation should hopefully help to decompress jet matchmaking, which is always a good thing. However, there are plenty of battle ratings that need reworking if jet decompression is going to work properly. For example, why the hell are the Venom, Mystère 2A and early MiG-15 all 9.0 alongside the hugely superior CL-13A, when the LA-200 and ME-262C2B that outperform all three sit all the way down at 8.0. And how in the hell does it make sense for the LA-200 and F2H to be at the same battle rating? Also, please change the World War II matchmaking that just creates a need for mixed battles, and get rid of imbalanced maps, and balanced teams, and bring back the old clouds. Basically everything I talked about in the video I did just before this patch with Defin, one of the best jet pilots in the game, well, everything we discussed actually came to pass. Everything we implored Gaijin to look at and fix has mysteriously flown under their radar, and now jet battles might be more populated, but they're arguably worse than they were 2 years ago. I did say that I would revisit that video after the patch, and well, I guess for everyone who remembers it, here you go. Having said that, the Sabre Dog is hardly to blame for that, so let's all be happy about its introduction, yes? Especially you Frenchies who've been asking for a well-performing jet. How could you complain about this? I'm expecting this aircraft to perform seriously well. I mean, the CL-13B, even with jets ranging into the more modern 10.0 battle rating range, is still one of the best performing aircraft in the game, and the CL-13A, F2 and F-40 Sabres are all still great. The F2 is still one of my favourite aircraft in the game. Then we move up a step to something like the CL-13B, G91YS, and now the F-86K Sabre Dog. These are the top end of the old school aircraft and easily capable of giving the more modern planes a run for their money, much more so than, say, a MiG-15 best can. So if there's one thing I'm looking forward to, it's a good old Sabre with a brand spanking new afterburning engine and air-to-air missiles, better speed, much better acceleration, and power creep. Who said that? Of course, if the F-86H or Avon Sabre are added, then I'll forget that this thing even exists, but it'll definitely be nice for French jet pilots to be able to answer aircraft like the CL-13B or G91YS, and deal with the top tier jets like the T2. In many situations, given the nimble and sleek nature of older jets like the Sabres, you're better off being in one of them than an F-100 or Super Mystère when the T2s come knocking. I've spoken about this before, but their playstyles are so radically different that just because the more modern jets are superior, they can still be very difficult to use against older jets if those pilots know remotely what they're doing. Think trying to intercept a Spitfire Mark V with a Bf-109K4 or LA-9. You might be a whole BR to 2 BRs above, or even more in the LA-9's case, but you'll still have a tough time because you're too fast, too powerful, and the older, lower tier plane can just slip through your grasp. And I'll be honest, there's very little in War Thunder that's more satisfying than that. Anyway lads, that's all for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed, and if you did, you leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, join the 360 squad, and let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. Come follow me on Twitter and Twitch, join the Discord, and check out Patreon if you'd like to support the channel further. Thank you all for watching, have a lovely good day, and always remember, keep your bagpipes to hand, keep your kilt on, and I shall see you next video. I say a wee thank you to these lads for supporting me on Patreon. Seagull Nuts, DA261, Kiesliga Arson, and Dark Recon. You lads are bra. If you wish to join them, come check out the link in the description below.